Welcome back. Week 14 FFPC preview. I'm your host, Aidan Liquorie. Dave Terp joining me as always. Terp, playoffs rolled on. How you feeling this week with your main event teams?
We got a battle ahead of ourselves. I mean, the couple leagues that I'm still alive in, going into championship week. I mean, it's going to be a war. There's a lot of Mahomes and a lot of Kelsey staring at me, and they play the dust buckets of the Denver Broncos. So we just got to hope that game just is ugly, 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 and Mahomes and Kelsey don't go too crazy. But
I mean,
I'm
yeah,
very
the
worried.
one thing you can't say about the Broncos is that they have a bad defense because the defense has stepped up seemingly every week. It's the offense, so
You
hopefully,
just got to hope the defense just doesn't quit one game, especially being this game against that team.
yeah, for sure. I'm sure many people are in your boat of running into Mahomes and Kelsey stacks in the FFPC main
They're going
event.
to be popular. They're going to be extremely popular when it comes to the race. I mean, and starting next week, they're going to be very, very, very popular.
Oh yeah.
Kelsey is a massive advantage right now. With Josh Jacobs and Travis Kelsey are the people you got to fade right now because there's a ton of teams that are going to be chasing that $1,000,000. They're going to have both of them.
It's just what we thought going into the year that Travis Kelsey and Josh Jacobs would
Travis
be the
Kelsey, I could see maybe.
absolutely. Josh Jacobs,
Josh Jacobs,
no doubt.
anybody that comes on any show and tries to tout that they like Josh Jacobs or they drafted a ton of Josh Jacobs, hey, I'll shake your hand, but until you prove to me that you drafted him 20% of the time, you just got lucky. And hey, luck's a part of the game, and no disrespect at all if you have a ton of Josh Jacobs, but it was just a lot of luck.
A lot of luck it is. Turk, we would have told you in the pre-draft process, friends don't let friends start. Josh says we were wrong there, but hopefully we're not wrong this week. Friends don't let friends start. Just give me Turp a player who you think is going to underperform this week.
He's been in the news a little bit, kind of complaining about his role. A guy that I'm a big fan of, future down the road. Deontay Johnson's questionable. George Pickens is the guy that I'm staying away from this week. Baltimore is a very solid defense. Corners are good. You can throw on them a little bit, but I don't expect that game to be very high scoring, especially with no Lamar on the other side. I expect, Pickens, especially Johnson playing, Johnson not playing, to get shut down. He's a guy that I would take a bunch of other shots at receiver over him. It's just too inconsistent with Kenny Pickett right now.
Yeah, it's an interesting call. Obviously, as you mentioned, he's been in the news, been almost demanding the ball more. Visual frustration on the sidelines there. Terp's fading George Pickens. I'm fading another rookie, Dameon Pierce. Obviously, he's been struggling for a bit. Last week, at least some return to respectability at 18 for 73. A couple catches to go along with that. But this week, he runs into that Dallas defense. Just the last 3 weeks, you look at it, they've played an elite slew of running backs. Jonathan Taylor did nothing. Saquon had a touchdown, which kind of salvaged his day, but yardage wise, nothing. And then
Nothing.
Dalvin and the entire Vikings offense, nothing. So Dameon Pierce, you put that together of the struggles that he's faced, kind of faded down the stretch as he gets career high in carries, bad O line, and you combine that with an elite defense they're facing. Just absolutely, Dameon Pierce is going to be in for a very rough week, in my opinion.
I like that call.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those with the running backs is gone, you might have to, but you can't rely on too much from him, in my
It's
opinion.
tough to sit any guys you drafted early right now because with injuries and just this bye week, which is a killer bye week for fantasy football. I mean, it's hard to sit a guy like Dameon Pierce, but I don't really like the matchup at all, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, this week is shocking because you got all the buys for some legit teams, and on top of that, just seemingly everyone is popping up on the injury report. Saquon's on the injury report. T. Higgins has a hamstring injury. Dante Foreman is now
Off the
cleared, but
injury
he
report.
he was hurt. Just seemingly every time you go in, there's a little red Q next to next year the big names. So it's going to be a tough week as people battle in the race to $1,000,000, as you said. But Turp, 2 touchdown guarantee. Who you got scoring 2 touchdowns?
Same game. I just talked about with George Pickens. Huntley loves Mark Andrews, and Mark Andrews is a guy that if Lamar misses a couple weeks could be a guy that gets you in with a shot at $1,000,000 because we saw last year when Lamar was out, Huntley just peppers Mark Andrews, and you saw it again last week when Lamar went out. He's a guy that I just feel like there's certain guys that going into obviously you know the obvious, the Kelseys, the Jacobs. But if you have a guy like Mark Andrews and a guy that I've been hating on all year, but a guy like Derrick Henry, going in. If you find a way to sneak in with some of these guys and they just go ham one week, they could put you in a position to win a lot of money. So my 2 touchdown guarantee is Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with in my notes that I have in prep for this. I said Derrick Henry is my 2 touchdown guarantee. Reasoning: he's playing the Jaguars. Henry always seems to eat up against division
Always
opponents.
does. I'll never
Literally,
forget that run on Thursday night, I think it was.
oh, the famous one is
The
stiff arm
famous
Miles
one.
Jack. Uh, I have no other explanation. It's just I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go for a
You don't
softball.
really need an explanation when it comes to that.
Playing the Jaguars.
It's the Jaguars.
Exactly. Terp, you all must have forgot player that you think people are discounting way too much this week.
This is a tough one because I really went through and there's nobody that really jumped out at me that was like, I mean, you can't really go with an obvious player here, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with just a game flow type of situation. We talked about the Texans Dallas game, just an ugly game overall, but Dallas should be up. So that would mean the Texans are throwing the ball a lot. So y'all must have forgot would be Chris Moore, Nico Collins probably out, Brandon Cooks likely out. So there's really not that many guys out there that are going to be making targets. It's him, Philip Dorsett, tight ends. I like Brevin Jordan's the guy that I considered for this, but I'm going to go with Chris Moore. I think he's a guy that you can maybe get lucky, like Thursday night game when all these guys missed, that where they could take advantage of a 5 for 60 and a touchdown type of situation.
Yeah, last week I went Tyler Boyd. Obviously didn't have a great game, but the drop touchdown, I was like, oh, I was close to being able to say something. That was brutal.
Pure pain.
That was brutal. I'm gonna go with Raheem Mostert this week. That Dolphins backfield is gonna be brutal to ever decipher because Jeff Wilson and him seem to alternate weeks. Some weeks they don't even run the ball.
Great matchup this week, though.
Only going on the matchup. Chargers have one of the worst bottom 3 run defense in the league right now. Mostert came back last week from injury, and he outsnapped Jeff Wilson. He seemed like kind of the bulk of the touches there. So I'm just going to kind of throw out just a guess right there. I'm going to go Raheem Mostert, and he eats up against the Chargers. These running backs have just eaten the Chargers defense a lot. Chargers, Justin Herbert, feel almost bad for him with injuries have faced him, but the defense has just melted down.
Offensive line's been bad.
Brutal. But Dolphins, right. I think Dolphins win relatively decisively on Sunday Night Football, and Raheem Mostert is a reason why.
I'm going to go against you here. Last week I said the Bengals would beat KC.
Yeah,
I think the Chargers beat. It's just one of them stupid games that like the Chargers shouldn't win. Dolphins are a better team, obviously, but I'm going to say.
And then the Chargers turn around and lose to the worst team in the league the next week.
Exactly. They literally want to play an ugly game last week against the Raiders, and then I could just see them just figuring it out, beating the Dolphins.
It is that there's a timeless tweet that the Chargers have never played a normal football game, and
never. I mean,
it's probably the same.
All this go for 2 at the end of the game stuff, like Brandon Staley, he's holding by a string.
Yeah, Terp, play of the week. Gimme. Who you got?
Ramondre Stevenson last week let everybody down.
Yeah, he did.
The matchup, without Damian Harris, just seemed like it was too good to be true. And a good game script, Bills probably be leading, which they were, and it just didn't work out. I mean, he was okay. I think he got a couple, 13 fans.
He got a lot of dump downs late to salvage.
Yeah, we love dump downs. We don't care how you get it, but I feel like this is the week. Monday Night Football, Arizona, who's just a team that's pretty much mailed it in. I think this is the week that Stevenson gets the monster game and takes off. So he will be my play of the week.
You mentioned my play of the week earlier. Tyler Huntley, you said when you were discussing Andrews, he's going to be my play of the week because of that connection with Andrews. And really, it's just also the rushing floor is when he was the starter last year, his lowest rush yards in the game he started was like 40. He had games of upwards of 75. The Steelers D-line, I know, especially with Watt, is a bit scary, but that secondary is still not great. The Andrews connections is a positive. I think Tyler Huntley's kind of due for a really good game and almost along the lines of what we were seeing early season from Lamar. So I'm going to go with Tyler Huntley and that Ravens. I think we are going to see.
He's been a popular free agent this week, Tyler Huntley, and I think
he's been
definitely a guy that should be, targeted more than he is.
I think we're going to see. Good. I think we're going to see a run it back of how Huntley became kind of a fantasy plug and play over the couple of weeks last season.
Yeah, I can see it, especially, there's a lot of questions surrounding Lamar and how he's been playing lately.
Yeah. Some people were saying Lamar looks banged up. Maybe a healthy Huntley can kind of change that. the
Maybe.
script for the Ravens offense. But that's going to do it for myself and Terp. Best of luck to everyone in the playoffs. We'll be back next week. We'll be previewing Week 15, which is also really the start of the race to the $1 million grand prize in the FFPC main event. Stumbling over my words there. So Terp, we'll see you then.